Hey guys, it's Brian, Home Field Advantage. I got a couple rants I need to throw out first. First goes to the NBA Commissioner, David Stern. Dwight Howard of the Orlando Magic has been suspended from Game 6 for elbowing Lambert of the 76ers. What gets me is that this is Dwight Howard's type of gameplay. This is how he plays, and a lot of centers play this way. They use their elbows. I mean, if they were going to suspend him and fine him and do all this stuff, they should have done it in the regular season. It should have been done in the regular season. He punished you in the regular season, he learns from his mistakes, and he's less likely to do it in the playoffs. But he's doing it in the playoffs because you gave him an award. You gave him Defensive Player of the Year. It just pisses me off. He deserved the Defensive Player of the Year. If you're going to suspend, don't suspend him in the playoffs. Why are you going to suspend him in the playoffs? Now the Magic are without their biggest player, one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA playoffs. The Orlando has to rely on Galot, and also Courtney Lee is out for them, so JJ Redick's going to have to step in, and hopefully not make as many mistakes as he's been doing. But it's bullcrap to suspend a player for doing something he's been doing all year, and no one has reprimanded him for. No one's told him, oh, you can't do that. You know? Give an award to him. Let him play the way most players play. But David Stern, you're the first douchebag. Second douchebag, Roger Goodell, NFL Commissioner. I've had a problem with Goodell for a long time. Tackleberry was probably the best commissioner that we've had in quite a while. He did a lot for the NFL. And Goodell's tearing it down. This whole thing about he wants to take 2 of the preseason games and move them to the end of the regular season, make them, regular season games, have an 18-game season. It's ridiculous. It's all about money. As more people are going to buy season tickets than they are tickets to the preseason games. You know why? Because the starters play in the regular season games. In the preseason, they don't play as much. And fans want to see the stars. The thing that sucks is that if you take away those if you take away 2 preseason games and make them regular seasons, you know who's gonna suffer? You know who's not gonna develop? The backups, the rookies. They're not gonna get their chance to shine. They're not gonna get their chance at, trying to prove to coaches that, they're a good player. And, they're not gonna develop. I remember Clinton Portis crying his little ass off a couple years ago when he got injured in a preseason game. Said, I wish they'd get rid of preseason games. Well, you know what? He's a starter. Of course he doesn't want them. What starter really wants preseason games? The only people that want preseason games are the rookies, the backups, and, players that are in a position battle to start. They need those games to develop. And if they take 2 of those games away, it's not going to happen. Training camp isn't enough for a player to develop. They need to have real-time game situations against real players. And that's how we're going to do it. But it's all about money for Goodell. It's all about money. Another thing is, NFL has been called the No Fun League in recent years because they fine for everything. They fine for touchdown celebrations. They fine for hits on players. They fined Hines Ward for a tackle or something last season. It was ridiculous. And if you lay a single finger on a quarterback, they fine you. It's ridiculous. We protect the quarterbacks too much in this league. It shouldn't be the NFL that's protecting them. It shouldn't be the Roger Goodell that's protecting them. It shouldn't be. The only people that should be protecting the quarterback is the offensive line, because that's where the offense starts. If you have a great offensive line, you give your quarterback, you give your wide receiver, you give your running backs all great chances to succeed. So Roger Goodell is, he needs to stop ruining the NFL. It's ridiculous. If you've ever watched a game of rugby, you know that football is nothing compared to that. I used to live next to an Australian pilot, and he called the NFL fairy football. Because, that's what it is. Rugby they don't have timeouts, and they don't have pads. It's just all, it's tackles. It's tackles and tackles and tackles, and it's strategy. it's a lot tougher of a sport than the NFL. Just understandable. I wish NFL was more like that. We didn't have all these sissy players on the field. So Roger Goodell is my second douchebag. You heard, Brett Favre was released from the Jets after his retirement. Now there's talk he's going to return for his second time. Play for the Minnesota Vikings at quarterback, which is what he wanted to do last season, but the Green Bay Packers were too much of douchebags to let him go there. And if Minnesota gets a chance, they'd be smart too, because the worst part of their team last year was the quarterback position. They have everything else to win a championship except for a leading quarterback. And now that they have Percy Harvin and Bernard Berrian, that's a better wide receiver tandem than Lavernius Coles and Jericho Crabtree. Crabtree's still coming up in the league. Coles is on his way out of the league. Plus, Thomas Jones is nowhere near the player Adrian Peterson is. So Brett Favre won't always have to throw the ball. Put Brett Favre in there for a year or two, there's a very good chance you're going to at least contend for a Super Bowl. I was reading an article, and it's kind of funny. When John Madden retired, it was after Brett Favre retired. A lot of people were saying that, well, if Brett Favre comes out of retirement, is John Madden going to come out of retirement? Because as we all know, John Madden has a man crush on Brett Favre. So it'd be interesting if he comes back. Would John Madden come back? I don't really have much to say as far as the NFL draft. There are a lot of quarterbacks that didn't go. I was really surprised. Graham Harrell out of Texas Tech didn't go, and neither did Chase Daniel out of Missouri. Neither of those quarterbacks. Steve McGee, the backup at Texas A&M, went to the Cowboys. My Cowboys. I was surprised, even though he's supposed to be kind of like a Romo type player. So if Romo goes down again, it'll be a smoother transition. But I'd rather have Graham Harrell. He was like the second best quarterback in stats, and he broke the record for like most touchdown passes during his NCAA career. Houston Texans fans, shout out to you. Great draft. Brian Cushing out of USC plays all three linebacker positions, so that was a great pickup. And a lot of you were kind of disappointed that the Houston Texans didn't take a running back. They took that tight end, James Casey, out of Rice. A lot of you don't know this, but James Casey plays tight end, running back, quarterback, fullback, wide receiver, and if I'm not mistaken, he also plays like a linebacker position at one point. So he's a versatile player, and honestly, I'd rather have a versatile player that can play multiple positions than a player that can only play one. So that was a good pickup. So if they do what I think they're going to do with James Casey, he's going to be a good player. He's going to be a great addition to that team. And another news flash for Houston Texans fans. The Arizona Cardinals let go of Edgerrin James. If Houston Texans fans, Houston Texans personnel are watching this, sign him. I'm not a huge Houston Texans fan, but you add him and your running game is set. And so is your pass blocking. Edgerrin James was a great pass blocker for the Indianapolis Colts. When Edgerrin James left Indianapolis, Peyton Manning was saying how much he was going to miss that pass blocking. You put in Edgerrin James in front of Matt Schaub, he's not going to go to the ground as often. I guarantee you. He's going to be a great complement to Steve Slayton's speed. And then they'll have a decent quarterback, a great running game, great wide receivers, the tight ends. James Casey can play multiple positions, and then the defense is going to be stepped up. They will be a contender in the AFC, I guarantee you. They have a very good chance of knocking out the Jags and the Titans, unless the Titans, that wide receiver somehow works out, which I doubt it. They still have questions at the quarterback position, and they lost Albert Hainsworth. It's kind of a big loss. So don't be surprised if Houston Texans just blow everybody away this year. It's obviously going to depend on what happens from now till the offseason. But alright guys, that's really it right now. NBA playoffs, you guys probably know what's going on right now. Game 6 is tonight. Between the Rockets and Trailblazers, I'll be watching. It's in Houston. Basically, I'm looking at it as a winner-go-home situation for Houston. It's just how I feel. Alright guys, later.